Dobry ranek, good morning. This session is F04, Ukrainian Pogroms in 1917 to 1921, and it's the use of documentation as a Jewish genealogy source. Will go until 10:15. Our speaker is Oleksiy Lipes? Lipes. Okay, Lipes. And Oleksiy was born in Sevastopol in Ukraine in 1984. From, I guess, around the age of 16. In 2000, he became an active leader in Hillel, the former Soviet Union. He did that until 2007, when he became a yeshiva student in Ukraine and in Israel. Since 2012, he founded the website UA. So UA is the short form for Ukraine. JewUA.info, Jewish Genealogy Research at Ukraine Company, and his work mainly focuses on Jewish genealogy research at Ukrainian archives, and he works with a lot of different sources, which he'll get into. I won't bother repeating it. So we welcome, and please take it away.
Thank you for the words, and thank you for everybody who's coming here. I very appreciate it, really. So before I start, I need to tell just a few things. First of all, I'm not working alone. I'm working always with my wife. Actually, she's the boss. Everybody knows about it. And before I start, I need to say two stories for you. First story, I want to tell you about I'm very nervous about that speech. Not because it's my first speech as an individual speech in English, but because it's very, very hard topic to discuss, even to read. Everything what you'll see today is very hard, and sometimes I have no any words. I'm really nervous. And the second story I want to say, because we will discuss a little bit about the violence. About the violence at the pogroms, I need to say about this, because it should be never forgotten. But probably it will be hard to listen for some of you. So I say sorry, we will discuss about it. So my history teacher usually says that if you want to tell something in history, you need to simplify it as much as you can. Just in a few words to explain what happened there. And in 1917, all the world of Russian world collapsed. The revolution began, and there was no any Tsar, and people began. They've been frustrated, first of all. They didn't know what to do, really. And afterwards, any other powers would need to grab the power of the country. I mean, the Ukraine part of the former, and that time's Russian Empire. Then they started the war. They started the civil war. It was not only just two main parties of that war, not only white ones, you know what is white movement, right? Not only the red ones, but a lots of any kind of different bandit gangs started to try to grab all the power of at that time. And the main idea of them, it was that the main parts of them, they're just the peasants, or how it's called, the people who work on yes. So they're not so clever, they're not so educated, and the first thing that they work in one small group. And one of the reasons of pogrom, in my opinion, is that they started to, they came back to the very, very old and very, very first time of humanity thing, that enemy and friends. So we are friends here, and we're at war here today. Everybody who's out of this room, they're enemies. And there was only one nation in that time in Ukraine, the Jewish people. They were different from them. And they were enemies for them just because they are. Just that. And then it starts the civil war. It started like a real first time, not the first time, but first time in that part of the world, ethnic terror. Really hard ethnic terror. It was not the pogroms from 1905 or 1907. They were just short time, and not so many people were killed. They just injured. They did not try to kill people. But in 1917 till 1921, it was a constantly ethnic terror of all the territory of the central Ukraine. Each city, each small village, each shtetl started to become the victims of this terror. So the main problem that armies, when we talk armies, white movement or red movement or greens or any other kinds, the main problem of them it was of a small group of the people who called atamans. You know what it means. So it's just a leader of a gang. And
how do you spell the word atamans?
Ataman. It's Ottoman, yeah. So, yeah. So Ottomans, they're just leader of the gangs. Some of them they're in the white movement. Some of them not. Some of them since time to time they separated and then doing like this. But they need money. They needed to to bring the violence. That was their reason of doing something. And few examples of, before we start to search in documents, to watch documents, few examples. For example, did you know about the Ustingrad city? It was a very big, in that times, Jewish shtetl. Ustingrad, or Sokolovka. Sokolovka, it was the name of Ukrainian part, and Ustingrad, it was Ukrainian of Jewish part. It was something about, at the beginning of 1990, it was something about 400 families lived there. So it's at least 400 houses, a lot of manufacturers, a lot of some things. It was destroyed totally. Not only almost all the people were killed, but all the houses were burned out. And this territory of this small shtetl was used to the peasants for, to seed the corn, to the farm. It was first time in Ukrainian history that the shtetls totally destroyed like this. So the main idea of the people who did the pogrom not only to kill the people, but destroy all the things connected to the Jewish. It's very interesting phenomenon. It's a first time phenomenon like this. Also, sometimes most of the Ottomans started to bring new ideas of killing Jews. First of all, do you know about Proskurov pogrom? And February 1990, one of the leader of Petlura army, Ataman, his name was Semenenko, he said to his people that to kill Jews and destroy all their estates or destroy everything connected to the Jews, it's a national duty of Ukrainian people. He said that, and in 3 hours, it was killed something about 2,000 people. All of them, little child and any other age. And that time, then it happened in the small cities. The biggest Jewish communities in the big cities in Kiev and Zhytomyr started to collect information about this. First of all, they saw that a lot of refugees from that small towns, small shuttles, came to the big cities and started to tell people that something wrong happened, something big evil happened there, and they started to collect. So the biggest committee, its name was Kiev Society for Support Jewish People Suffered from Military Actions. In short, it's in Russian it's KOPE. So now we will see only one case in it's located in Kiev archive. The number of fund, see, are 3050, Opus 1, case or file or book 51. So we just look inside of only one case regarding the pogroms, and you will see what we can find there. So this is only the title. It looks like this. So we discuss here this is the reports about the pogroms at Lukashevka, Ustingrad, Monastyrische, and other cities of Lipovets Uyezd of Kiev gubernia. These pogroms was done of atamans Sokolov, Ossadchenko, Romanenko, and others. And it also contained the lists of killed women and men by Denikin army at Monastyrische. So if somebody is from their cities, so Lukashevka, Ustingrad, or Monastyrische, please let me know. You will see what you will find there. So usually at the beginning of the case you will see some such kinds of tickets. These tickets for using of telegraph. So as we know that the people who, when the pogroms was done in that cities, people from Kiev and Zhytomyr started to come to their small villages to ask the witnesses they can find there about what happened there, and they use these talents to call, or I don't know how to use telegraph, to call to the headquarters and to say we're here, and some of them just in that case. You also will see in that cases such a small things, just a telegrams about some things happened, and usually witnesses of these pogroms, they just go to the telegraph and call to the headquarters of this organization to tell something happened in our city. So please come and support us. The first pages you will see that everything is in Yiddish, because the native language of the people who lived in the shtetl was Yiddish. And the people who started to ask people, they asked them in Yiddish. And the first handwritten witness records, they're always in Yiddish. But afterwards, the people came to their headquarters and translated it to Russian. So we will see everything is in Russian also. So the same records. You will see it's a lot of work. So here is the part of the Russian. Started to be in Russian. Here you will see some kind of advertisement. So as I said before, this committee its name here in down. You will see. It used this advertisement in the big cities, and the main idea of this advertisement, so we need to support our brothers and sisters in the small villages. So they collected money, they collected food, they collected any kinds of cloth, warm cloth, because sometimes it was winter, and to support orphanages, to support all kinds of things. So this is the main idea of this advertisement. It's charity. So all the Ukraine was in this advertisements in the big cities, on how it's called, okay, on the streets you could see that. Yes. So here is also in Yiddish, and here you will see the first city. We're talking about this Lipovets city. It was a big city, and it was a big Jewish population, and here you could see only just a few numbers. So the first point there, it's a Jewish population before the pogroms and after pogroms. so a Jewish and Christian population. So before the first pogrom at Lipovets, it was something about 6,330 people, and Christian population for 5,088 people. After the pogroms, it started to be like 4,000 Jews and 16 Jews, so almost 2,000 Jews were killed, and the Christian population grew up. It's 5,685. It's just numbers. And here you, yes.
So what time difference between the two numbers?
Couple of months.
So that difference is
Yes. So it was just in 1919, one year, and probably half a year or something like this. Yeah.
So the whole difference between the 4,000 and the 6,000, those were all killed, or did some of them become refugees and go somewhere else?
This is a good question. First of all, not all the killed people or injured people in pogroms were recorded in these cases. Then first somebody came to the village. They started to ask witnesses and write down the exact people they knew that were killed, so they can recognize them. So I saw him. He was killed. He is lying on the floor. These numbers also include people who was injured and those who ran out from this city. But
created by the Bolsheviks.
no, this is the main idea of this. It was not done by Bolsheviks. It was done by Jewish communities. Before, because no, in 1919 it was no any communists in Kiev. In 1990, it was all of kinds of powers, so-called powers. As I remember, during 2 years, 1919 and 1920, the Kiev was by different powers something about like 17 times. So you understand that each time it's a new power, new government, as it's called. Yeah. Yes, because yes, these documents say about that. So some of the Christians people just came to not all the buildings were destroyed. You understand? Not all the Jewish houses were destroyed. So they just go to the Jewish houses to live. And this is just general information what happened there. And this is the first time of pogrom in Lipovets. So first pogrom was at 17th May 1990. He was done by Red Army. Yeah. So if it is red records, we will not record that it was done by Red Army. So it's written here. The first pogrom in Lipovets was done by Red Army, and the second pogrom in August was done in 1919 by Petlura Army. And this is so. The Red's army just killed 3 people, and the Petlura army killed 30 people. Petlura, it was one of the leader of another movement. We can call it a white movement, but it's not so. It's hard to explain. So, yeah, I have it's also one story. This is not a historical speech. You can just open the Google, and there's so many books about the pogroms, about all the Ukrainian history at that times. Here, I want to show the sociology of that time and how it could be used in genealogy.
But if you are really interested about who was Petlura, I can tell you that he was killed at 26 in Paris by a Jewish guy from the shtetl, because all his family was killed in the same kind of pogroms. But from my own family history, I can tell you that Bolsheviks later were using a Petlura name for all pogroms that they do, that somebody else do. For example, my family shows that my grandfather was killed by Petlura army, but I checked the army movements on this territory on that year, and Petlura army was not there, so it was somebody else.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Where does the word "we of the Cossacks" come from? Is it just another term, or is it just
Sometimes I know you have misunderstanding because Cossacks, it was Cossacks of Bogdan Khmelnytsky. It was 300 years before. And the big difference we have between Cossack Khmelnytsky times and revolution times. Jew in the Cossack Khmelnytsky times, as an Inquisition time, could tell, I'm ready to be Christian. And they were not killing him. And in revolution times, this was not helpful.
My mother did turn over one in Galicia.
Because Jews in Galicia were using word Cossacks and Khmelnytsky just to, like, bye-bye for children. You know, if you would be not polite, somebody bad will come and kill you. I heard it from a lot of my even tourist clients, like one of my clients were making a movie about Cossack Khmelnytsky, Bogdan Khmelnytsky monument in the middle of Kiev and saying, children, you can see, this is Bogdan Khmelnytsky who slept with your grandmother. And I said, I'm sorry, your grandmother was 400 years old. Because these pogroms was only on central Ukrainian territory. They have not, they didn't do it in Galicia. So that's why Galician people till now think that only Cossacks were bad guys.
Yeah.
Well, so maybe next year a good presentation would be a historical overview, because I can tell from the quick questions that the basic history would help people put records, events, and facts in a more orderly, useful way.
Thank you for this. This proposition. Yeah.
Really quick. Do you know how far back these particular type of records go?
What do you mean?
This is 1919.
Yes.
Oh,
This.
is that the only-
Yes.
okay,
This.
I-
This, so this document started in 1919 and finished in 1920.
Okay.
So this is that times. So I just need to show. So here, and I know that nobody used this as genealogy resource. So here you will see the family names of the people and their personal names and their age. So I just want to tell why we started to search in that documents, because we had a client. He didn't know anything about it. He know that he was from Uman or somewhere near him. That's it. First we checked his the censuses, metrical books, all the documentation, and never find his family there. But he knows we lived in Uman. We came to United States from Uman. The only one thing he knew, and we started to research it. And when we started to research so usually we use any kind of different documentation to reveal there is strange documentation, there is rare documentation to reveal the history, the Jewish genealogy history. And we found his relative in the list of killed people in the pogrom. So we knew that it's true that his family came from Uman to the United States just after the pogroms, but they just settled there for a little time, and then we discovered when he was from where was his family and traced it back, but it was in our region at all. So here started again. This is also Lipovets, but it's in Yiddish. Started to be, and also this. Usually in these cases there are a lot of copies. So that cases that consisted not in 1920. It was consisted in earlier in later times in 1950 or something. So just the workers in the archive just put all the pages together to collect for a fond, the Opis and Dela. So at the beginning it was just sheets of paper. That's it. It was just collect. So here you'll see a lot of copies of one things. So here is also the Yiddish text and the list of the killed people. It's the same list as we saw before in the printed one. It's here. So I just keep this and just keep. This is Yiddish. It's a lot of them. The same theme. Also, another copy of another copy. Sometimes it's helpful because the newest copy have a more bigger information. So the person who recorded the third or fourth copy of this, they just write down any new things they knew about. You understand? So sometimes it's even if we see new copies. We also read it because sometimes it's helpful.
Alexei?
Yeah.
Are all the copies located in Kiev? There's no other copies in smaller local archives?
We're still so the main part of these pogrom cases, they are in Kiev archives. This is the main part, but yeah, Nadia.
As I told already a couple of times, a copy of all this font was done a couple of years before by Washington Historical Museum. It's font, I checked it yesterday, number 31057, and it's include not only Kiev archive, it's include a couple others. And this font was, for example, about Kiev gubernia, and also in Kiev we have a couple of small fonts by Cherkasy region, for example, for smallest shtetls. But anyways, Washington Museum did all of them.
Which one?
Washington Holocaust Museum.
Oh, the Holocaust.
Yeah.
Yes.
100 Raoul Wallenberg Street, 5th floor. Walk each day from 10 till 5. Huh? Yes, they have copy of all the records. I checked it.
Did you manage to come by any purely Jewish sources, like the records of the Kehillah or rabbinats, like vital statistical records of the rabbinat, as far as the death toll of the pogrom is concerned? In my opinion, these are the most trustworthy sources.
I don't understand why do you think that this is not so.
Well, for example, concerning Odessa 1905 pogrom, there is a separate list in Odessa book of Odessa Rabbinat Book of Deaths, and they clearly list the victims of the pogrom. Put the name of the person, or if person was not identified, and unidentified person.
Yeah, here we have the same thing.
The number of people, etc. Because many of these documents were produced by the Victoria, by the Lura government, by Bolsheviks, by different sources, not by
I agree with you. And story with this Shimon Schwalenberg is not so correct as well, just because there is a lot of stories about that he could be Bolsheviks and he killed him just because it was Bolsheviks. Bolsheviks asked him to kill Petlura. But it's like Schwarzbart, yes, but it's true from both of the sides. Maybe he, yes, was Bolshevik, but his family, yes, was killed during the pogrom. If you are talking about these sources was started only by Jewish organizations, because Bolsheviks was in Kharkov. They wasn't in Kiev. After that, that's why we have most of material in Yiddish. And later, when Kiev started to work with Bolsheviks together, they started translated to Russian. And on the same period of time, they were started to find relatives of these killed people or children that had no any parents after these pogroms. And they started cooperate their things with Joint and other American organizations. Of course, in rabbinical books, in the start of this movement on the 17th, when was rabbinical books, because after 18th, we have only Zags. We don't have any rabbinical books. As in some places 21, in some places it was 18. But problem is that the most of rabbinical books are not exist, so we can't check. I can tell only one thing. In Kiev, in 17 and 18, in rabbinical books, we can find records where it's written that the person was killed. Not died because something. That the person was killed. Rabbi, And in yes, and in this kind of list, you will see it later maybe. Like you see here, they know that somebody was killed, but they have no idea what name was of this Jew. And sometimes we can find the record like it was Jew from in Uman pogrom. Okay, they have no idea what was this Jew name, but they are saying that it was Jew from Lukashevka, or it was visitor of Goldman from we don't know from where. And there is a lot of people like that. And about these 2,000 that disappeared. Not all of them were killed, of course. A lot of just running away from this village because of shock. A lot of them were dying later in the hospitals or just on the way. And like that, it was during 3 years of revolution and war.
Can I just say something? We obviously have a real range of information about pogroms, even about Ukraine during that period, about the kinds of records. I don't know if we want to get into a debate of the quality of one set of records versus another, because really, at least if I've learned anything from this week, it's you use everything you can get your hands on, and then you determine as a researcher what is going to be the best source. So if I may, I suggest perhaps that we move along, look at the kinds of records that are being presented here, and then you can use everything you can get your hands on and determine what you feel is the most.
Thank you. So here again, we see the next list of the people. It's the same next people as mentioned before, and you see here it's a copy. Yes, so mentioned that it's a copy. Some of them do not even have family names. It's just a name that person just knew him by the name. That's it. It's all information that remained by him. So here's, I think it started to be Lukashevka. Yes, here is the progress on Lukashevka, and I know that somebody's here should be from their relatives. And can you remind you of the family name that you searched in Lukashevka? Cherniguz. And Segal, no? No, not Segal, okay. There is no Cherniguz. Spectre. Spectre? Okay. Yeah, so this lady, their relatives, supposedly from Lukashevka, and the family name is Spectre, and I just checked this list, and I will try to find it here now.
It's okay, you can...
No, it's a book of about 200 pages. I will not show you everything. I do not have a lot of time. So. No. You'll see it. Hopefully it will be. So I just did it separate. 1 second. I have a trick.
No, really, it's okay. I can see you later.
No, because I did it especially. So here. There are 2 specters killed in Lukashevka pogroms. So the first one is Mendel Specter. We do not know his age. And the second one is Hayadoba Specter. It's a woman. It's 50 years old. That's here. So I just met this lady 2 days ago and just asked about the relative from Lukashevka, and just checked and found that in this list we can find them. So, and she said that her ancestor came to the United States right after the pogroms in 1990. So probably somebody, we don't know if it's related to your family, really don't know. But we need to check and to work with it. But probably it was some part of the family, and another family started to move to the United States.
And at that time, there was no quota in the United States, so you could freely come in.
Yes. It was not so easy to do, but...
It was a lot easier than after 1921.
Yes. Okay. So, I just want to tell a few words about what happened there. I said sorry about this. I will talk about a little bit violence, but you need to understand what happened, what really happened. No? Okay, my wife said no. Okay, I will not. So you can ask me afterwards. I will tell you, because it's really not good. Okay, so here you'll see one more. It's Lukashevka. It started to be, I think, монастырище. Everything is in Yiddish at the beginning. So sometimes you just will see some kinds of references do not related at all to these cases, and sometimes in such cases we just see another just sheets of paper about any other things. Just it was just put by the worker of the archive there, and that's it. So we don't know why it's there. So anytime even if we work in the indexes of that kind of book, you need to open real book and to see what's inside, because a lot of time nobody knows what was there. Yeah.
If you're using the materials at the Holocaust Museum, are the indexes by each particular pogrom, or can you put a name in and search the whole record?
The problem is that these records are not indexed. So this is another part of our work. So our goal of our company, not only to provide you the services of searching genealogical your ancestors, but to build the complete database of all the Jewish family names we can find in any archives in Ukraine, in any kind of documentation. So why we copy this font? Because we just at home we just sit and write down all the family names there to build a database. So this is our work also, because yeah.
With the facts, not the family name with the facts.
Yes, of course. So usually we put the number of font, number of file. Number of book, the family name, and the page where it should be found there, in what list and which city. So this work is in process. It's a hard work. It's something about in that font, something about 400 cases. I don't remember exactly. Like this, 400 cases like this. It looked like this, about different things that happened in small cities, about the support, lists of orphans people, lists who want to join their family in the United States, and they feel informed to go to the United States, and this is also recorded by us. So this is the hard work, and we're working constantly. Yeah.
So this is in Ukraine, so it could have been the old Galicia as well. Is that correct?
No.
Galicia, I have a
Yeah. So this font we're talking about, it's primarily the central part of Ukraine. So Kiev gubernia, if you understand what I'm talking about, it's wider than the Kiev Oblast right now. It has more territory in that times. Yes, but my wife knows that.
But it would not go down, let's say, to Podolia or Kherson, or some of the other.
No, each archive has the same.
Will have similar
Yes.
variants. Okay.
The problem is to find. Yes, now we're talking about the Kiev gubernia, but the main problem is to find that in the archive. So we're in the process. So that's why we, while we have some clients, we go into some archive. We work there to index all we have there. So this is only part of the work. Okay. Okay. So here. So here's also started the Lipovets. Sometimes this documentation is just mixed up, and one big city, then few small cities, and then again the big city. So nobody knows how it was, combined. Okay, and you'll see. Here is again the tickets for telegraph. So I want to find the most interesting thing. So here is the translation of all the Yiddish things, and people just started to how it's called, to describe what happened there. And sometimes it's very hard to read, really. And this is Lukashevka. So also there was a lot of books and a lot of people who started to do something historical with all this documentation. If you know the main name is Chirikover, if you know him, yeah. So he started to collect all these witnesses, and the first time the people of the book about the pogroms, all that things that also in that wasn't with that book, it was published in 1922, if I'm not mistaken, in Germany, in Berlin. 26? Yeah, 26. My wife said. So I usually do mistakes a little bit. So this is the big description. So sometimes to find the list of the people, it's very hard. We need to search in it. That's how it looks like. So this is all the descriptions of pogroms of different times. Yeah.
I have a question. I'm
Yeah.
wondering if there's detail. You mentioned in one of the records, you said that how many people were killed by the Red Army and how many in that one document, and how many by.
Okay.
I'm interested. My grandfather was in the Red Army.
Mm-hmm.
He was a true believer, and he was from Mongolia. So he was in the Red Army, but he was Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering how much detail is there. I don't expect him to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But detail as to who came into
Yes,
towns at any
that's
time,
why.
who they went to track.
Yeah, I wanted to tell about that thing, but no, just no. Okay, I want to explain. Okay, what's about all these witnesses? Yeah, how it was? Just a person. For example, it started like this. Что? Not that.
Not that.
Okay.
Just he always trying to explain how exactly these people were killed. And it's impossible. Why we started to work with this kind of documents? Because I had no idea why I'm only one Lipis in all former Soviet Union. And I knew that nobody was killed by Germans. All my relatives were evacuated. And on Kaha links of Jewish Gen, I have found some list of people killed in Yusingrad, and it was like all my family.
Sorry. We're sorry a little bit. Yeah, we're very nervous right now about all bad things, and if things happen in Israel, and if things happen in Ukraine. We have a lot of relatives and friends. They are now in IDF, in Israel army. They're now in Kiev or in Donetsk and Lugansk, and also, it's very hard. So, sorry. That's personal. That's why I usually read all this documentation, because Nadia cannot. I also cannot, but I'm a man and I'm trying to clear this. But it should be known. All the things should be known. Nobody should forget about it. So. Here you see. This is all the people killed in Monasteriще. It's just one pogrom of Denikin army. Just Denikin army just came to the city and killed. And usually, there was a big city. There was a difference between man and woman. So they did separate lists. Here is again Monasteriще. What happened? And usually people say there in the witnesses, they say about who came, who exactly came, and if you see how it's called, the capital letters in this text, this is the names of the atamans, usually. No, here, you know, this is the... Here, the gang here is written Gang of Sokolov. Sokolov was one of the ataman there, and also, as I understand, the most violent ataman was Zeleny, if you know about him. Zeleny translated as green. Yeah. Zeleny, Z-E-L-E-N-Y. Something like this. He was, yeah, I have a question there.
So just to clarify, the word is hetman, right?
No. No. Getman. Yes.
Asking, is it Ottoman or is it hetman?
No, it's Atman was just a leader of one small gang. He has something. Huh? No. This is different things. And that times Ataman or Ottoman, how you spell it? It used to be the Turkish word, but it's in that times in Civil War it was used for local people who became leaders of small groups. So then let's talk about small groups of a gang. I mean, from 20 people to 200 people.
We had one Hetman, and maybe you heard about him. It was Hetman Skoropadsky, who was one of the leaders of Ukrainian Directoria, and he tried to make Ukrainian free country, I mean free from anybody, and the German army helps him to do this. And it was only one short period in Kiev, for example, where nobody was killed because a German army didn't give to kill Jews for anybody of the people. That's why a lot of people from Kiev didn't evacuate in 41, just because they remembered that German army was better than anybody else 30 years ago.
So this, yeah.
Have you found any records that talk about not necessarily the army killing people, but the people in their own village keep killing them?
Okay.
There was an ability to take over.
Think of that questions. Usually, usually when Ottomans came, they came for their own people. But usually these people, they're from around. So here also, then they ask the witnesses, they asking about them from, do you probably know from where was their people, that people? And usually the answer was, it was from the village, very close to our shtetl. Sometimes some people from the same shtetl started to be. So for example, in Ustingrad, mostly all the people from Sokolovka, it's the same village. It's just divided by a river. We've been there, so just a river, and one side of the river it's Ustingrad, and another side of the river it's Sokolovka. So people from Sokolovka participated in that pogroms, and they wanted to kill everybody. But I need to say also that there was a lot of the cases then local people started to protect Jews. And this is very interesting thing for us and for everybody in the world, that then just one person started, I mean not Jew, but another person in that city started to say, please do not touch our Jews. Nothing happened. Nothing. So it was a lot of things, so for a lot of tales about that. It was not very common thing to do like this, but it was. It was also here in that text that you can find the names of that person. So the witness who did this record, he knew him personally. He said, okay, this guy said, okay, if you want to kill Jews, kill me first. It was, and nobody was touched. Also, after the Justingrad, this big shtetl was destroyed completely. The gangs came to other cities and asked and started to kill Jews. All the local people said, "Please do not do as you did, as you did in Justingrad. Please do not do like this." Please. Why? Because Jews had to work. Because in Sokolovka and Justingrad, it was very strange. They killed all the Jews, they destroyed all the Jewish shtetl, and there was no work after that, because all the Jews gave them work. And the people from our shelters and our villages, please do not. We want to work. We need to eat something. We need to earn money a little bit. Yeah.
Actually, I think one of the things that, as a Jewish genealogist, family from Ukraine, I still have family there, that I realized growing up, I always heard stories. I heard stories from my grandmother of a number of occasions in 1919 and 1921 where her life was saved by Ukrainian villagers. Both in Odessa and in her village in Podolia, and I've documented some of this. But those stories are not the ones that people tend to hear. They hear the stories about the murders in the shtetls, but I have many instances I know where my grandmother would not have made it to Canada if she hadn't been protected by non-Jewish villagers. And we really need to be looking for those stories as well, because I think the viewpoint of life in Ukraine for Jews is very lopsided. It's not truthful when we only think about those who died.
Yeah, thank you. So that's also true. So here is one thing. So you see this little text about this. So this is talk about the how it's called. The people usually ask, what about the Ukrainian intelligence? I don't know how to say intelligent. You say it like this, right? Intelligentsia. Yeah. So what about intelligentsia? How do they support pogroms? Do they not support pogroms? Or what's happened? Intelligentsia. We're talking about the teachers. We're talking about the priests. We're talking about all kind of things. And the answer constantly something like this, almost the same. The intelligence, they support pogroms. They did it on their own. But there is a big but. All of them have their own Jewish friends, and they hide them. So it's constantly. This is the anti-Semitism in Ukraine. This is the style of Ukrainian style of anti-Semitism. All of the big anti-Semitism have their own Jewish friends. And they say, these Jews, as I said to you before, friends and enemies. All friends, this is the people I'm talking with. I collaborate them, I'm going to drink some mashko with them, vodka, and something like this. This is my friends. All the other people from other nations, they're enemies. You understand what I'm talking about? So this goes like this. Oh, yeah.
Any of the non-Jews get killed for protecting?
No. So we don't. Okay. We don't know exactly. We don't know that. I never saw that it was written that somebody started to protect Jews and he was killed. I never saw them. The main things I saw by then people started. Oh, say okay. My wife said that he saw it. This happened. The non-Jews were killed for protecting Jews. It was in the big cities. So in the villages, nobody charged that kind of people. In the big city, you understand why, right? Because it's small communities. Everybody knows. So there's cousins and so on. Yeah.
Our Jews are the good Jews. The other Jews.
Yes. Something like that. So also there are also interesting thing and important thing. We don't know the biography of all the Ottomans, but the biographies we know that almost all of them were teachers in their previous life. They were from intelligence. For example, Zeleny, I started to tell about him. He was, I do not remember what he was. Oh, sorry, I don't just Let's keep in mind. Also, so everything, it's also said here about the teachers, the intelligence. Some of them they're the children of the priests, and so on. But we don't know a lot about them. We just know a few things that people, just witnesses heard about from that army. So then some gang came to the city, just need somewhere to sleep, to eat, and so on. And they started to talk, you know. They just drink a little bit and started to talk and tell a little bit more about their gangs and tell more about them. And these Jewish people just heard a little bit about it. So here just the example. I think it's Monasteriще also. So this sign is B, pogroms, and this is just listed all the pogroms that have been in 1990 in that city. So the first one, it's May 1990. It was 9 people killed. It was the people were robbed, and it was done by Grigoriev army. June 1919, 12 killed. The people were robbed by 3rd Denikin army. Second day of New Year, I mean Rosh Hashanah. Yeah, second day of Rosh Hashanah, 1919. It was killed something about 100 people, and so on and again describe it like this. And the citizens tried to explain as much as they can to tell who it was, when it was, and so on. It was collected by these committees, and it was kept in the archive cases. So again, this is description. This is the same. So this is about the Pliskov. It was not mentioned on the title page, as I said, but usually we checked everything to understand what's really inside. So not all if you see the title, it doesn't matter that you understand what's inside. It's important. So this is the description, also. And this is short. It's not seen well who it was, but just small list of the people. This is a big. So this is, yeah. So this is Yustingrad. Yustingrad was totally destroyed. This is a list of Yustingrad, and here our relatives mentioned. So it's the second page of this people. Okay. So, you know, it's a hard discussion. It's hard thing. So, I'm looking for your questions, because we have 15 minutes till the end. So, yeah.
Before we go down, I'm Marla Waltman. I never introduced myself at the beginning. I'm sorry. Hello, Victor. Hi. We've talked. I don't know how many of you are in the Ukraine SIG. Could I just see a show of hands? So maybe half. If you're interested in Ukrainian research, Ukrainian data collection, records collection, join the Ukraine SIG. Yesterday there was a big announcement of huge numbers of vital records that are being collected through donations, through the SIG, through Jewish Gen. If there is an interest in this period, which we're all here, obviously we are interested, there's nothing to stop us through the SIG of creating a group that could collect money that would get people to start working with these records, transcribing, perhaps working with the lipises. There are ways of doing that, but I would just recommend that we work within a system rather than creating a separate project, separate from the groups that we're already here with. Yeah.
I'm Judy Baston, and I spoke on Sunday about 2 investigations of the pogroms in Poland and Galicia, but it really did not include Ukraine as we're talking about it now. In the syllabus for my presentation, which you can get through the program and look at the handout, there is a bibliography, and there is a book by, his last name is Heifetz. I want to say his name is Elias Heifetz, but then I may be conflating it with Cherikover. So anyway, there is a book specifically about the pogroms in Ukraine. It is not rich with names, but it would be a good way to get background. It reflects an investigation that was made by, and I want to say, the Russian Red Cross. Not necessarily, because at this point we were still talking about, the Russian Empire. So that's one thing. For those of you who are interested in earlier pogroms, in essence, starting with Kishinev in 1903 and continuing through and after Bialystok in 1905, the American Jewish Yearbook has a table with maybe 150 listings of towns and descriptions of the pogroms, how many injured, how many killed, and who was responsible. If you Google in quotes, American Jewish Yearbook, and yearbook can be 2 words and yearbook can be 1 word, and then pogroms, you will get a link to this table, which I think is in the 1906 edition of the American Jewish Yearbook. So that's basically, yesterday I was in the resource room and looking at the Jewish Chronicle from London, and they had a lot of articles about another mission that went to investigate, and that was Sir Stuart Samuel. And that may have, although they described it as Poland, I think that may have included some Ukraine. That's all.
I want to tell 2 things about previous speech. First of all, in Ukraine, nobody is ready to talk about these pogroms. They are very regular to talk about pogroms that was done by Russian Empire, as I said. And they know exactly that 70s, 90s, it was like only Ukrainian time. It was no Russian Empire anymore. It was not Soviet Union yet. It was only Ukrainians. That's why nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to publish a book about that. Nobody is ready to give money for the search. I am trying to do something during 3 years. And all people are saying what the one Holocaust is popular, it's important. Pogroms, who cares? It was 100 years ago. This is one thing. And second thing about Americans, they came in 20s only. They came in 20s and they were recorded only stories. They didn't see it. They only recorded stories. They were trying to collect money. They were singing, they were bringing money and food and clothes from United States. And sometimes we see funny letters from one community to another community when they're asking that we are sorry, but we are sending so bad clothes that nobody is ready to take. So please check what you are selling, something like that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for. I think we can finish, right? Yes. So all the words. Oh, there's one question.
I just want to ask approximately how many people were killed in pogroms from this period.
200,000 people.
So the numbers are very different to tell. There are lots of historians who try to understand what was the numbers of the people. Some of them said it's about 30,000. That's it. They said it's just like this. Another one said it's 200,000 people, and another one said it's even more. It's about 500,000 people said like this. But we don't. The history, it's a very strange thing, because sometimes it's very hard to understand what's happened there. We really don't understand what happened 1 year ago in our country, in Ukraine. How can we understand what happened 100 years ago? Because all the information they have just looks like this. You know, just short something, and collecting, and there are lots of historians who's working about this. Yes, this is separate funds. So my wife knows it by heart. I just know how to check in our database. Yeah.
So as you continue to compile this, what do you think you will? What is your end? Excuse me. What is your end product?
End project? Okay.
And what will develop out of the research?
Okay. First of all, the great idea of what to think to build one database and just put your family name, and you can find any possible documentation, any possible archive, where to find it. Not just we just mentioned in some documentation, but where to find it. So, for example, this list of this city, Lukashevka, Monastirich, and so on, we just did it for now it's in Excel files, right? So just put in search the family name, and we'll see this family name. It's very helpful. It's very helpful, first of all, not only as a researchers, but for you, because a lot of the people knew a little bit from their own history of their life, and they do not understand from where they are. So the greatest aim, is to provide for all the Jewish people possibility to find their ancestors and from there they are. That's it. This is very simple, but this.
That's simple. I think you could also make it searchable by other means. I think you could write a book on this.
Yes, we are in the process. Yeah. So, if somebody not have our business cards, we have a little bit here. So.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'd just like to close this off. Please, this is on tape still, so shh. Okay. Thank you all for coming. It's wonderful to have you here for a Friday morning of the last day of the conference. I want to thank Alexei and Nadia for their heartfelt and a useful presentation. Personally, I wasn't aware of the kind of detail records that are available for this period. I'm quite excited by it. Please do get their cards and contact them. I also suggest, because it does seem to be a real range of understanding of Ukrainian history in this period, there's a wealth of information that's been published about the pogroms, about Ukraine during the time of the revolution. Go to the Jewish Gen information files as a start, because you'll find a lot of information on Ukrainian history there. There are bibliographies. It's a fascinating and difficult period, not just because of all the deaths, but because of all of the players, as they suggest. Yes?
They already have this stuff.
Right. Yeah, we know that there's certainly vital records. We don't know if have this kind, but do check the Ukraine SIG. It's really changed a lot in the last year or so. A lot of exciting things going on, and there are wonderful researchers in Ukraine who can be of help to us as well. Thank you. Thank you for coming.